Hello everybody and welcome back to Nerds Garage. New Game Mondays. I'm Derek.
I'm Suzanne. New Game Mondays are new to us, new to Kickstarter, or just new. This game comes out in April.
This week we're talking about Curators Collection Conundrum.
Good word.
Good word. Very good word. Conundrum in a game, on the cover of a game. That is classy. Style points for Curators. All right.
Who's it by?
It's by Worldshapers. Worldshapers.
What's the motto?
Tomato?
What's the...
Well, what I do know about Worldshapers is they try to source sustainable components, sustainably sourced components for their games. Not just, they're giving it some thought. They're working at it. They're producing a product that involves lots of stuff, but they're trying to do it sustainably as much as they can. And I think that's awesome.
And because of that, we saw what they were doing. We sought them out, and we asked if we could get a prototype because we'd love to play it.
To review
talk
it.
about
Yeah.
it. And they said, yeah.
So here we are. We've got Curators, and you are a curator of a museum in a city, and you've got 5 staff who do all kinds of cool things.
Okay, I think that's so cool because normally you can be a person and maybe a second person. Sometimes we're co-op-y, but we get to be 5 people.
5 different people at the same time, which is super cool. You're also, before we get into those characters,
okay,
you're building a museum. You're adding on to your museum. You're adding rooms,
yes,
adding wings onto your museum, and that's an important component of the game because you add these rooms. You need to fill them up with cool antiquities. So
what does that happen? What does that bring?
Visitors. And the goal of the game is to finish the game with the most, yes, you guessed it, visitor points.
When I figured that out, that it was visitor points, not victory points, like a half an hour ago. That's so cool. Visitor points. Love it.
Yeah. Visitor points is an example of the fun that these guys, gals had building their game. They brought that to the table. They didn't just do what everybody else does. They thought things out. The game is so well put together. Every aspect of it is really, really cool. So now,
gameplay.
Getting into the gameplay, you are playing each turn. You have to choose one of these characters to get the benefits of. And there's the archaeologist.
And he does what?
He receives objects and he goes and finds antiquities and brings them back to the auction.
My favorite, the carpenter. He helps build the wings.
Builds the wings, builds the pieces of the museum.
From the spiral. Everything, that's another thing we should talk about. The game starts as a spiral of parts to build
rooms
on.
to select, and they're available.
And once the spiral is done,
then the game's got 2 more turns.
Yeah.
So there's the carpenter who's building the wings, and then you've also got the collection manager who, the curator has hired the collection manager to get objects from the auction and bring them into your storage warehouse, where the next fella,
the restorer, who works for the museum, who restores the objects and puts it in the museums, which scores you visitor points.
Right, and then brings in more visitors. Right, and then there's the really exciting, this is from my perspective, the very exciting job of the financial manager.
But you can't do anything without them. There are times when I know I want to buy more antiquities and I'm able to do the double action, which I'm sure you'll explain, and get double the money of the amount of visitors.
And in order to buy more stuff, you need the financial manager managing the museum's money to create that cash flow so you can do more stuff and get more points because, again, the game is all about getting visitors and visitor points.
So tell us about the single or double allocation during each turn.
Each turn you're tasked with, you have 5 different characters. I'm getting there. I don't wink very well. So each turn you pick one of those to do, and you've got little round discs that represent your characters, and they have 2 sides. And when you take an action, you flip that tile over, which reveals another side, another one of the characters. So the carpenter tile doesn't have another carpenter on the back. It might have a money bag for the financial manager on the back. So if you come to a turn and you want to take an action and you have 2 tiles with the same action face up, you can take a double action, which means not only do you go, if you have 2 hats, which is the representation of the archaeologist, you go into the field and instead of getting just 1 antiquity, you can get 2 antiquities instead. So very straightforward. So most of the actions in the game have the option of taking a double action if you have the right combination of your tiles face up. And that is important because it involves strategy, getting them to be 2 face up at the same time later on in the game when you need them.
Nice mechanism. Besides
Yeah.
having the 5 options, if you figure it out and time it right, you can do a double turn
Yeah.
with those 5 options.
And think about it. If you can have the financial manager, you get $1,000 for each visitor token you have in your museum, which you accrue as the game goes on. But if you do a double action with the financial manager in a turn, you double that, so you get $2,000 per visitor. And since the rooms that you're buying for your museum cost anywhere from $0 to $4,000, and the antiquities cost $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000, you need thousands of dollars to run this museum, and the best way to get that money is to double up on your financial manager action. You collect rooms. You're adding rooms onto your museum, which again, you use your carpenter to build those. And when you complete a room, when you add it to your museum, then if you fill it with antiquities, each square for a room has a space for 1 antiquity. If you have a 4-square room, a 3-square room, or a 1-square room, you need that many antiquities. When you filled it with antiquities, you get a new visitor for your museum. Now, there are also contracts that you can win.
That's what I was going to ask about. Those are very interesting with the little wax seal.
They've got a
card.
wax seal envelope. It's
Nice
a contract.
art. Nice art.
And it has some really nice art from actual museums around the world represented on the back side with your instructions, which show basically representations of the
little
rooms.
map, yeah.
The rooms and the
Colors
antiquities
and
are color coded.
sizes.
There's red, blue, and black. And so there's a little map of if you can get rooms built in your museum in that shape with those colors represented, at the end of the game, these contracts are end game visitor points. At the end of the game, for completed cards, you'll get a certain amount of points. When you complete a room, you get a certain amount of points at the end of the game for that room. Most of the rooms, the smaller rooms, not so much.
So we've finished the circle, and we've gotten to the last bit, and we've got 2.
Right. Once
Turns
all
out-
the rooms, say in the 2-player game, there's 21 rooms available, and then there's probably 25 or 26 for the 3-player game, and so on. Once all those have been exhausted, you have 2 full rounds of play, so everyone else gets 2 more turns after that round where the rooms have been exhausted to complete the game. So your strategy needs to take into consideration some end game moving around.
Yeah, there's the diminishing rooms, so you have to really think ahead
Right.
about
What
you
your
have
goals
so many
are.
moves left because you want to get the antiquities in to get the points, but you also want to do the extra scrolls.
Yeah, you want to get your points, and money in hand at the end of the game is worth 4 to 1. You get one visitor point, for each $4,000 you have in your hand at the end of the game.
And you get 1 visitor point for each exhibited object.
Yes, so every room that has an antiquity in it, that antiquity is worth a point.
And you get a point for indicated completed wings.
Yes. So it's complicated, but also very fast playing. Once you get the handle on it, it's not complicated. I know that sounds weird, but easy to learn, easy to teach. We taught several people very quickly. And all of it, the game is, again, I've said it before, the game is so well put together, every aspect of it, right down to the art, their art for the game. Like, I love these characters as they're drawn, they're visitors. Actually, I think they're the different types of jobs that you can do in the game. It's represented here. their art is wonderful. The real world art that's represented on their cards is really well done. Everything
And
about
this was just
this.
the prototype.
Yeah.
And we've got, a dozen people in the garage here, and it's very rare that we get everyone in the garage to like a game, and everybody
liked this
enjoyed
game.
this one.
Yeah.
And we will definitely looking forward to buying when it comes out, the actual game with all the upgraded pieces and boxes.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. The gameplay again is speedy. It moves right along. It's just easy to play. It's fun to play, and everyone seems to dig it. So.
And I assume portable. We
Yeah.
like to take games on the road with us.
Yep.
The garage goes on the road a lot.
It looks like an easy traveling game. So anyway, the bottom line is Nerds Garage really loves this game, and as soon as it's available, we're going to worldbuy it.
And we highly suggest you checking them out.
Yeah. Worldshapers. There you go. Worldshapers.
And look for Curators in
Yes.
April.
Curators.
And we are
Nerds Garage.
Nerds
And we'll see you
Garage.
later.